Hey, it's Clay, and this will be my top 10 stocks as we head into Monday, October 23rd. This will be a technical analysis breakdown. So if you're someone that uses charts within your trading, or maybe you're somebody that just wants to learn more about charts and how they can be used as a tool to make good decisions as a trader, this would be a video for you. First off, a couple clarifications. Number one, the candlestick that you see right there will still be moving around. That's because the market's still open for a small amount of time. But I like to do these videos when the market is still open because sometimes we can capture some really interesting late day price movement. And then second, I'll be using the 30-minute time frame, meaning each one of these candlesticks here represents 30 minutes worth of time. So stock number one here, ticker symbol LIPO. And a nice pattern here has formed, got the lines drawn into place already, but the top part of the pattern, which would just be the resistance trend line right there, you can see pretty straightforward. And then we have the bottom part of the pattern right there, that area of support where we've gotten a couple bounces from it. And then make this maybe a little bit more visual from a pattern perspective. Let's make it one color. So we have our resistance, we have our support, we have the big upwards move right there. And this would be what I would call a bull pennant, or excuse me, a bull flag pattern. So bull flag pattern does not guarantee anything, but it certainly makes it valid to think that if the price can recover back upwards, get to that area and break up through it, and you can call it a self-fulfilling prophecy, you can call it whatever you want, but valid to think that any sort of break right there could very well create another round of additional buying pressure. So if you like this price range down below $5, you like bull flag patterns, definitely keep an eye on it. Next one here, WHLR, and overall an interesting story here. So to quickly go through the story, big move up, got a relatively deeper pullback, and now all of a sudden the price has started to go sideways, which brings about the opportunity to ask a very interesting question. Is this pullback finally over, and is there going to be another round of momentum that shoots back upwards? This one has displayed the ability to move and move very quickly. And during this phase, so let me focus on this. During this phase of the journey and story, it's always a little nerve-wracking because if you've traded long enough, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. But you've seen stocks that make good moves and then they come down, and then they just keep dropping, and it turns into a gap and trap, turns into a bloodbath. But that was not the case here because, yeah, it came down, but then it did start to go sideways. Now, just because it went sideways does not mean for sure guaranteed it's going back up, but it becomes a whole lot more plausible now to say, okay, it's looking like this pullback is over, which now paints this key area right here as the main area of resistance, essentially the top part of that range right here at the $1.60 mark. So keep a close eye on $1.60 if you like these scenarios, again, where you get the big move up, you get a pullback, then you get some sideways action, and now it's just a question of does this thing want to have some strength return, push it up through $1.60, so we'll see what happens. Next one here, TSLA Tesla, and this will mean a little bit more to those of you that watched the video from yesterday on Thursday, but if you did, I mapped out that area of resistance right there, and you can see that the power of trend lines, I mean, just this trend line has become very, very stubborn and annoying. You can see rejected the price. Rejected it, rejected it, rejected it. Even in the last 30 minutes, rejected it. So you got to think that there's going to be just that many more eyeballs watching that trend line. And you combine that with the fact that this is a very popular stock and you have a lot of eyeballs watching the same general area, wondering the same general things. Call it a self-fulfilling prophecy. Call it whatever you want. It can produce some very dynamic movement. So no guarantees, but is it plausible to think that if the price can finally break up through that trend line, that break right there could create additional buying pressure? To me, that is a more than rational scenario to keep an eye on, especially when you have such a popular stock such as Tesla. So in my mind, it's really as straightforward as that for Tesla heading into Monday. All about that trend line. Can the price finally break above it? We'll see what happens. Next one here, ticker symbol XRTX. And again, I have them levels here mapped out, but the area of support, nice little trend line here has been drawn. So keep an eye on that moving forward as that main dynamic. And then as far as areas of resistance are concerned, nothing fancy here, but you can see right up there at that 80-cent mark is where the price finally had the momentum run out of steam. But overall, things are looking just fine, assuming you're not a day trader that bought right there and wanted to buy and sell within 5 minutes. Assuming that's not you, then big picture-wise, in fact, everything's fine because you got a nice little pattern here. So keep it one color, resistance, support, big upwards move for you golfers. I'll try to make it a little bit more visual. Put the golf hole down here. This would be a bull pennant pattern. So as I already talked about with those self-fulfilling prophecy, no guarantees, but is it valid to think that the price can get up to that level and then push up through it, that break could create additional buying pressure? That is certainly a plausible outcome. Next one here, ticker symbol AMC. And this is one where rough day, and not necessarily because it was red, but because from a technical standpoint, the price is now down below that pink line, the 200 period moving average, which is a very important level. And this morning started off doing a good job of bouncing from it. and try to maintain it right there. But this last 30 minutes, the price is now down below there. So that's definitely a red flag of, are the bears going to pick up that much more momentum? No, there are no guarantees. So that operates in this direction too. Just because it's broken below it does not mean for sure guaranteed the price is going to keep on dropping. My point here is that it becomes a pretty reasonable thought to think that, okay, maybe the bears are picking up strength. Maybe this thing is going to, make that much further of a move downwards, which is why I want to now map out the next potential area of support that you're going to want to keep a close eye on, which in the very near term right there at $8.95. But if $8.95 can't quite hold up, next key level of support after that would then be down there right around $8.60. So yeah, no doubt about it. Rough move here, not what you want to see, breaking down below that 200 period moving average, but we'll see how things continue to play out. Real quick, want to take a break and personally invite you to get signed up for this free live online class that I'm offering next week. So if you've been enjoying what you've seen and you want to learn more about this tool, how it can and should be used to build consistency and manage risk, then definitely get signed up for the free live class. If you're watching on YouTube, there's a link down in the description box, or if you're watching at my site, there's an area right there on the webpage that you can click to get signed up. So like I said, if you've been enjoying, then definitely get signed up for the free live online class. Next one here is ticker symbol PLTR, and a rough move here, rough day. Granted, the market's had a rough day, but this one had done such a good job of maintaining inside of the sideways channel, which I had been talking about. But today with the gap down, and the other rough part was not only did it break to the downside of the channel, it also just destroyed that pink line 200 period moving average to the downside. So anyway, look at this one. I mean, just a nasty, nasty day. Yes, big red, but also from a technical point of view, did a lot of bad things as far as charts are concerned. So we'll map out some new levels here. So key level in the near term from a resistance standpoint, right there at $16.45. And just the basic rule in charting, when levels of support are broken and closed below, they tend to act as resistance. So even with the break of $16.45, I wouldn't get too excited because now you have that looming overhead 200 period moving average, which was support, but now you would expect to act as resistance. As far as the supports are concerned, nothing fancy or complicated here. Literally just a question of where did the bleeding finally stop today? That was right down there at $15.80. So 15.80 will be that key level moving forward. Again, nothing complicated or behind that rational, other than the fact that that's just simply where the price bounced. So if the price does go down there again, you can throw out the question mark of a potential double bottom, which makes it interesting. But that is certainly a very important level now moving forward. Next one here, AMD, and this one, not as bad as PLTR in terms of breaking key levels, but AMD nonetheless started off strong and is now dropping down quite a bit. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that level, because what I'm curious about into next week is, do we have... So we have that trend line right there, which is a support. Then at the same time, we have this trend line right here. So we have this bigger wedge here that is starting to form, and I 100% have no problem with you if you want to disagree and saying, I think you're trying to fit a square peg through a round hole. I can see where you're coming from, but I also don't think I'm totally crazy. I think there's some rationale that goes behind this, but in my mind, very interesting dynamic here, because within the pattern here, and this trend line here is essentially just mimicking that 50 period moving average anyways, that purple line. But within this pattern here, there's not a whole lot of space. So to me, it presents an interesting scenario where, who's going to ultimately win out of this battle? Are the bulls going to win out with a great break to the upside of the pattern, or are the bears going to win with a break to the downside? That all remains to be seen. But nonetheless, that's an interesting situation, and that's what a watch list is all about. Finding unique, finding interesting situations, and not rushing out and randomly buying stuff, but watching it, and that's what we have here. So we'll see how this plays out moving forward, but certainly an interesting set of circumstances. Next one here, ticker symbol AAPL, and a lot like these other stocks, pink line, 200 period moving average has broken down below there. So yeah, rough day just because it was red, but just technically speaking, you never like when the price breaks below and separates to the downside from that pink line. So needless to say, Apple had very, very rough day, and now you're seeing it starting to move down towards areas that have not been seen for quite a while. So that's where I'll start off here with this first level of support now, as far as a key level that you'd want to see hold, and that's right there at 172.35. But just in case things get even more bloody next week, next key level would then be down there right around the 170.80 mark. So keep a couple eyes on those if the price does continue down. If the price does try to bounce back upwards, main level from a resistance standpoint, I would call right there at the 174.75 mark. This is actually a classic example of this area of support being broken right there and then acting as resistance. So any sort of bounce back upwards, keep an eye on 174.75. But even if the price gets above there, you still want to be skeptical because not that far up above, you have the 50 period moving average, you have the 200 period moving average. So there's definitely a lot of overhead resistances at this point. So that doesn't mean that Apple can't reverse around, but if it is going to reverse around, it's definitely going to need to bring its A game. Next one here, ARAV, penny stock that got quite a bit of volume today and has a pretty well-defined breakout point. So once again, going back to that whole talking point of self-fulfilling prophecies, right there at 25 cents, interesting level. It's not exact and perfect, but broadly speaking, you can see right there, momentum started to struggle. Yes, it broke above there, but the momentum disappeared and then down it went. And then right here, it just immediately got rejected at that 25 cent mark. And I don't know, maybe, no. I was going to say, look, we have a cup and handle here, but I think I'm stretching that a bit much. That's not a cup and handle, so I'm not going to make that claim there. But the claim I'm definitely standing by is 25 cents, certainly a very interesting level moving forward. Got a bit of a pullback here, but overall, still has a chance to put in higher bases, which is always important to see. So in my mind, it's, step one is let's see this thing start to recover back upwards. So that'll be step number one. And then step number two, which is probably the most interesting dynamic, is can the price break above that area? And if it does, how much more generation of momentum does that create? So if you like penny stocks, definitely keep an eye on it. Next one here, TQQQ, which is an ETF that measures the NASDAQ. So if you believe the NASDAQ market is going to go up, this one will also go up. But the problem here is that the NASDAQ went down today. So that is why this one had a very, very rough day. And I'm going to go ahead and get rid of these lines here as it continues to break down through areas. So newest area of resistance now right there at 34.50. Again, just based on that foundational rule that when levels of support are broken and closed below, they tend to act as resistance. So in the very near term, 34.50. You know what? I'm just actually going to. So yes, 34.50. Don't get me wrong. That is an area of resistance. But just because I don't want to have lines everywhere, let's just adjust this area of resistance up to right there at 35.10. So 35.10 going to be more so that overarching level. And then from resistance in the near term. And then as far as areas of support. Oh, wow. It even broke down. Is it still above there? I can't see that quite yet. There we go. I'm trying to check this low right down there. Oh, that's right where it bounced. Okay, so 34, definitely a very, very important level. So real quick, as we go through the history, you can see right there, 34 did act as support, and then I'm going to zoom back in and just remember where that green line is coming from. And you can see right here, $34, once again held. So that'll be the big question mark next week. Is there going to be some sort of double bottom where this thing gets moving back in the upwards direction, or is this thing going to break through there and then pick up that much more momentum? So yes, everybody and their brother's uncle is going to be watching that $34 mark, so we'll see what happens with it. So that wraps up the top 10 list. Again, if you like what you saw here, then definitely go get signed up for that class next week. It'll be Thursday, October 26th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. So I hope to see you there. As far as these top 10 videos are concerned, if you enjoy these, please do two things for me. Hit the like button, leave a comment below, say hi, tell me what you traded today, tell me your watch list for next week. Those two things help out the channel, and it's the easier way to contribute to the channel, just again by hitting that like button and leaving a very basic comment. So thanks for hanging out. Get signed up for that class, hit that like button, leave a comment down below. Have a great weekend.